You know, when it comes to the successful West Coast rappers from the 90s, a lot of people forget that Coolio was one of the top guys that made an impact in that time frame. His music was different from Snoop Dogg, Dre, and Eazy-E and them, but cause see, he wasn't talking about the street gangster stuff. Coolio's music was more about having fun and social issues. He was a very intelligent person and a businessman besides just being a rapper, actor, and a record producer. You know, Coolio nominated for 6 Grammys, sold over 27 million albums worldwide, and has appeared in over 50 movies and TV shows. But right before he passed away, maybe like a month or so, he was talking about a lot of stuff that go down in the industry behind closed doors. He was exposing a lot of things and said he had more info to tell the world. And he wasn't scared of death. And all of a sudden, he just died out of nowhere. Wow. Let's get to his story, right? Now, Coolio's birth name is Artist Leon Ivy Jr., and he was born on August 1st, 1963 in Los Angeles, California. Now, some of the research I was doing on him said he was born in Pennsylvania, but I never heard him say that in any interviews. But he did mention PA in one of his songs. On a song I remember, he did mention PA in that song. But anyway, now growing up, after his parents were divorced and his father went to prison, he moved to Compton around the age of 8 years old. And he also had asthma real bad too. He was very asthmatic to the point that he's been hospitalized a lot. But his mother made sure he stayed focused on school and would often send him to the library to read. He loved to read. He was an avid reader, which led to him being an honor roll student. And he skipped a grade because he was so intelligent. He was smart, man. He said he was one of the 4 smartest kids in his elementary school. But he was also a small, short kid that used to get bullied a lot because he got skipped up from 5th grade to the 7th grade, and the older kids used to pick on him. Now, around the age of 12 years old, he fell in love with hip hop and started rapping after meeting his neighbors, who was actually from New York, and they used to bring the hip hop music tapes and the albums with them and throw parties all the time. Now, his first rap name was called Boo Daddy because Boo was actually his nickname that the family gave him. They used to call him Boo. But then one day, him and some of his friends were joking around, and they was joking on him because he was playing the guitar. And they call him Coolio Iglesias, like the Spanish singer Julio Iglesias. And the name just stuck. And he later shortened it to just Coolio. Now things started going bad when his mother and stepfather split up. And then she lost her job, which led to her to a lot of drinking, And on top of that, all the bullying he was dealing with at that time led to him joining a gang for protection because, like I said earlier, he was always getting bullied. And to fit in with his gang, he started committing armed robberies for money to buy food, and he ended up getting in trouble. He did 10 months in juvie behind one of his friends who actually did the larceny. He just took the rap. But Coolio said he stopped rolling with his gang after he witnessed his first murder in the bathroom at school. And then he witnessed his second murder when his gang beat an outsider to death with a hammer, which made him throw up. Wow. That's when he started rolling with him. But, when that crack cocaine hit, things really started to get bad. And his mother got addicted to drugs, and he fell into the street life just real heavy. And he ended up also becoming addicted to smoking crack. He said in an interview that it all started from smoking marijuana with coke and crack in joints. They used to mix it together in a joint. And when they didn't have no weed one day, they just tried the crack by itself, and that's how he became hooked instantly, he said. But to kick the crack habit, because he wanted to get off, he ended up moving to Northern California, up in the mountain area somewhere in San Jose with his father, who was now out of prison. And while he was there, he enrolled into college and became a firefighter through a volunteer firefighter program for drug addicts. Coolio said he stopped doing drugs one day when he found himself arguing over a crack pipe with one of his close friends. That's when he knew he had to stop. And his mother was the one that sent him up to the mountains to clear his mind and get clean and sober, because where he was at up there, he couldn't get access to drugs and alcohol. And that's when he went to the community college and worked as a volunteer firefighter. And he also had a job in the airport security. And it was around that time that he started to take rap real serious. And he ended up landing his first recording contract with a small independent company called Primo Records, which later changed the name to Love Nest Records. And he did release a single. The single he released was titled What You Gonna Do, which really didn't make any noise or get him a big buzz or anything. So, look, Coolio was in a bunch of rap groups though early on. He was in a group called Soundmaster Crew. He was in a group called New School, and they had a song called What Makes You Dance, Force Groove. Then he got in the group called Low Profile, which at the time was signed to Ice-T's label called Rhyme Syndicate. And then he was in the WC and Mad Circle with Dub C. But, when he was with WC and the Mad Circle, he ended up getting a solo deal with Priority Records. And he did finish a whole album called To Funk or Not to Funk. But the album was shelved. And he was dropped from the label before it even came out. And when that had happened, that's when times really got rough for him, because WC and the Mad Circle ended up hooking up and rolling with Ice Cube. Dub C became Ice Cube's hype man, Crazy Tunes became his DJ, and Big G became his security guard. But see, Ice Cube didn't really know Coolio at the time like that though. So when he asked Ice Cube could he go on the road with him as a bag or a luggage carrier while he was on tour, Ice Cube told him he didn't have enough room for him, which really crushed Coolio because, he had kids, man. He wanted to make some money, but Ice Cube said no, he didn't have room for him on the tour, and Coolio was crushed. But it made him work harder and to keep chasing his dream, because now he's angry that he didn't go on tour with him. And after that though, things did get so bad to the point that he had to get on welfare. And the crazy part is fans would recognize him when he was in the welfare lines, when he would cash his government checks. Hey, at that time he had to do what he had to do. He had 3 kids to feed. But he never gave up though. Coolio never gave up. He continued to pursue his rap dream and was determined to make it. And that's when he ended up meeting his manager at the time named Paul Stewart, who was well known in the industry because he had helped Warren G and Montel Jordan get their deal with Def Jam. And Paul Stewart, he liked this demo. The Coolio demo, he loved it, and he started shopping it. He started shopping the demo, and he ended up with some offers from Jive Records. Polygram wanted to sign him, and Tommy Boy Records wanted to sign him. But Coolio signed with Tommy Boy Records because they had offered him the most money, which was $25,000 for just a single deal, which led to them asking him to complete a full album after they seen his work ethic. Coolio was dropping songs in the studio like crazy. When they seen that, instead of the single deal, they gave him a full contract to do a whole album. So, now with Tommy Boy Records, He released 2 singles, but on March 8th, 1994, he released that third single, Fantastic Voyage, took him to the top, hitting number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 2 on the Hot Rap Songs Billboard charts. And the song was certified platinum, selling over 1 million copies. Fantastic Voyage was a big deal because a lot of people remember it because of the sample from the legendary R&B group Lakeside. Back in the 80s, that was their #1 hit at that time. The song was big, man. The song got big. And he was nominated for the Best Rap Solo Performance Grammy, but he lost to Queen Latifah's UNITY that year. But I used to love the Fantastic Voyage video. MTV used to have that song in heavy rotation too at that time, man. I remember recording all that stuff. A couple months later, he dropped the debut album called It Takes a Thief, which hit number 8 on the Billboard 200 and was certified platinum. On that album, I also like the song called I Remember. I remember watching that video all the time too. And another song he had on there called Sticky Fingers was on the Poetic Justice soundtrack. Now, after that, 1995, Coolio would drop the biggest song of his career that would take the world by storm. Gangsta Paradise, featuring LV. Now, how that song came about has been some controversy because Coolio said he came up with the whole idea and LV claimed that the song was already his and he asked Coolio to get on it. And for years, Coolio and LV had a problem, I guess, with each other over who song it was first. But in a Rolling Stone interview, Doug Rashid, the producer of the beat, said, he was roommates with Coolio and LV's manager, Paul Stewart, right? And it was at Paul's house, who had a recording studio in there. So he sampled the beat from Stevie Wonder's song called Pastime Paradise, and they gave the beat to LV, who at the time was trying to get a deal. So LV did all his singing parts and decided he wanted someone to rap on it. And that's when Coolio walked in and heard it. He loved it and started writing his verses to it, and the rest is history. Because, look, really, before the song got to the Dangerous Minds soundtrack, they was trying to put it on the Martin Lawrence and Will Smith Bad Boys movie, but the label Dangerous Mind was on offered the most money for it. And on August 5th, 1995, the song Gangsta Paradise was released #1 in the United States, #1 in United Kingdom, #1 in Ireland, #1 in France, #1 in Germany, #1 in Italy, Sweden, Austria, Denmark, Netherlands, Norway, Switzerland, Australia, New Zealand, #1. Wow. The song sold over 6 million copies, helped push the Dangerous Minds soundtrack to sell over 3 million copies. That went triple platinum and #1 on the US Billboard 200. Plus, Coolio won a Grammy for Best Rap Solo Performance. When he won that Grammy that year, he beat Biggie's Big Papa, Tupac's Dear Mama, Skee-Lo, I Wish, and he beat Dr. Dre's Keep Their Heads Ringing. He won Best Rap Video and Best Video from a Film at the MTV Video Music Awards, and won Favorite Rap Hip Hop Artist at the American Music Awards. Then, to capitalize why the song was so hot, he dropped the album. He released his second album titled Gangsta Paradise, and that album ended up going triple platinum, selling over 3 million copies. And he had some other songs on there too that I like that was very successful, like Too Hot. That hit #1 with JT Taylor from Kool and the Gang. The song 1 2 3 4 Something New. I like that song. I like the song Cruising too. That was a Smokey Robinson sample. I like that song too. You know the song 1 2 3 4 Something New was also nominated for a Grammy the following year, but it lost to LL Cool J's song Hey Lover. But you know, Gangsta's Paradise, man, helped push that album to millions in sales, man. That song Gangsta Paradise, man. The video, I think the video is what really helped with the success of the song when they put actress Michelle Pfeiffer in there face to face with Coolio. Just seeing them like that, it set the tone, man, or something. You know what's crazy? A lot of people don't know that the Dangerous Mind movie was based on a true story from a book called My Posses Don't Do Homework, written by a retired U.S. Marine named Luann Johnson, who in 1989 was a teacher at Carlmont High School in Belmont, California, where most of her students were African American and Latino teenagers. It's a true story, y'all. Now, I also around that time remember Coolio being mad at Weird Al Yankovic for remaking the song as a parody, calling it Amish Paradise. Because see, Coolio thought he was making fun of him, and he didn't get permission from him to remake the song, according to Coolio. But you know, Coolio, he later apologized after he found out that his record label did give Weird Al permission to do the song. Plus, he did receive royalties from that song. You know, Weird Al, he been doing that stuff, making parodies since what, the 80s, early 80s? He remade Michael Jackson's Beat It. He called it Eat It. He did Bad, calling it Fat. He did Madonna's song Like a Virgin. He called that Like a Surgeon. He did a lot of that stuff, Weird Al. But now Stevie Wonder, when it comes to Stevie Wonder, because that was his sample. That was his song they sampled. He received royalties because it's his song, Pastime Paradise, from his classic 1976 album, Songs in the Key of Life. He got 95% of the publishing. Wow. Because Stevie told him no. Stevie said no at first when they came to him about clearing the sample. You know, because Stevie, he didn't like curse words and none of that stuff on none of his songs. So in order for them to let Stevie clear the sample, Coolio had to go back and take out all the curse words on the song. And that's when Stevie gave him the go ahead and use the sample. But anyway, after the success of the Gangsta Paradise song, right, Coolio was in demand like crazy, touring all over the world. And also around that time, he was very good friends with Tupac. And he said he tried to mentor him because they go way back before Tupac came to Death Row Records. Coolio said he'd been knowing him since Digital Underground. Plus, I remember Coolio being in the Temptations video from the Me Against the World album too. A lot of celebrities was in that video, I think. You know, Coolio and Tretch were also good friends because they was on the same record label, Tommy Boy Records. They all used to hang out together. But, you know, Coolio said, you know, he felt Tupac was headed on the wrong path when he was signed to Death Row. He was trying to stop him from gangbanging and stuff. And him and Tupac they recorded a song together, but Coolio's producer ended up telling the engineer in the studio to erase the song over some money issues or something like that. But Coolio was at that time, man, on fire, man, everywhere. He did a song called It's All the Way Live Now for the soundtrack to the movie called Eddie, starring Whoopi Goldberg. He was featured on a song called Hit 'Em High from the soundtrack to the Michael Jordan movie Space Jam. Be Real was on that song from Cypress Hill. Method Man was on that song, LL Cool J and Busta Rhymes. He did the theme song intro for the Nickelodeon TV show called Kenan and Kel, and he did a couple episodes on there too. Now, then he got into the movies. He got into the movies. That's how hot he was. He was in demand, man. Fat Beach. He was in the movie Fat Beach. He was in the movie Batman and Robin movie with George Clooney. He was on the TV shows Parenthood. He was on Martin, the Nickelodeon show, all that. And apparently they did a Dangerous Minds TV series that he appeared in. I kind of remember that too. They had did the Dangerous Mind TV series back then. Now, on August 26, 1997, he released his third album titled My Soul, which did okay on the charts and was certified gold. It did go gold, but it didn't do the big numbers like the first two albums did. But I did like the single called See You When I Get There featuring 40 Thieves, which was his group he was working with at the time. And you know, that song hit number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100. But you know, to his label, Tommy Boy Records, that album was a failure. And they ended up dropping him from the label. Wow. And he wasn't too happy about that. In an interview, he said, Tommy Boy Records is known for sabotaging their artists' careers when it comes to their third albums for some reason. He said everybody on Tommy Boy who put out a third album, they sabotage it. I think something with the contract, they had to pay him more money or something, so they sabotaged their third albums. He started naming albums like the De La Soul third album, the Naughty by Nature third album, his third album. I was like, get a little deeper in that. But you know, also around that time he ended up having a lot of legal issues too with the law. I mean, he was charged with punching a saleswoman in the stomach while touring in Europe. They said he and 6 members of his group left a boutique without paying for a bunch of clothes worth about $940. But you know, Coolio denied punching the woman and said the incident was a misunderstanding because he thought it was understood that the clothes were in exchange for the autographs. And he said he offered to pay for the clothes, but the saleswoman she'd accept cash, but not his credit card. And you know, he was sentenced to 6 months probation and fined $30,000 for that incident. Wow. Now, that same year, he was arrested in Los Angeles for carrying a concealed weapon and possession of marijuana after police pulled him over for driving on the wrong side of the street. In 1999, he started his own record label called Crowbar Records, distributed by Beyond Records. He had some artists he was working with at that time. In 2001, around April 2001, he released his 4th album titled Coolio.com, which was released exclusively in Japan on JVC Victor Records. And the following year, he dropped his 5th album. And in 2006, him and Snoop did a song for his 6th album called Gangsta Walk that I thought was a pretty dope song. The Gangsta Walk song is pretty good. In 2008, he had a reality TV show on the Oxygen Network called Coolio's Rules, which was about him being a single father trying to raise his kids. And he had a cooking show too. He had a cooking show called Cooking with Coolio, and he published a book titled Cooking with Coolio, 5-star meals at a 1-star price. They say he can cook now. Now, in 2009, he appeared in the Celebrity Big Brother 6 with LaToya Jackson. Vern Troyer was on there, Little Mini Me, he was on there. Also remember seeing him on the Celebrity Fear Factor too. And he was also on the Celebrity Wife Swap TV show. He did a lot of shows during that time, man, reality shows and stuff. But, you know, the same year, that 2009, that same year, he was arrested at the Los Angeles International Airport and charged with possession of crack cocaine and battery. They say the security found a crack pipe in his luggage and he got the battery charge. The way he got the battery charge, they say after he allegedly grabbed the security guard's arm with it when his luggage was being searched or something. So that's how he got the battery charge or something. But I don't know. In 2013, he faced domestic violence charges for allegedly beating his girlfriend and the mother of their child, but those charges were dropped. In 2017, Coolio announced his candidacy as the vice presidential running mate of candidate Sherry DeVille, who was actually a popular porn star. Wow, that's crazy. They was running for presidential. But look, 17 months later, they ended the campaign though. It didn't work. They didn't get a lot of support for that campaign, so I don't know. After that, he continued to keep doing his music and, doing a lot of interviews. And, September 28th came around, 2022. He was found dead at a friend's house in Los Angeles, California. Now, the story goes, they say Coolio had gone to visit a friend in LA, and while at his friend's house, he went into the bathroom and his friend became concerned when he didn't come out. And that's when the friend tried calling for him, but when he didn't respond, the friend entered the bathroom and found him on the floor. And that's when he called the medics, and the medics got there, but he was pronounced dead at the scene. Wow. Police said that no drugs or drug paraphernalia were found at the scene and believe he may have died from cardiac arrest. He had a heart attack, they were saying. Even though, there were rumors that said he died of a drug overdose, but his close friends say he hadn't touched alcohol and drugs in years. I do know that he had asthma real bad, and some believe that, that may have played a role in his death. And family members told investigators that he had several inhalers and sometimes used them on stage during performances. That's how bad his asthma was. Years ago, he became a spokesperson for the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America. He said in an interview that he and his children are asthma sufferers, and as a child, he was taken to the hospital several times due to the asthma complications. Now, some people think Coolio was killed by the powers that be. Some say he may have been targeted and murdered over plans to expose people in the industry because of an interview he did just a month before he died. I watched the video with Hip Hop Uncensored, that interview, right? Because he was saying that he was planning on exposing people in the entertainment industry that he feels were engaged in some crazy acts. And he said he was approached by some powerful people that wanted him to do some things. And he also spoke out on streaming platforms that was stealing money from black artists. He was starting a movement to go against the big streaming platforms, and he was trying to get artists to come together and join him in the movement. Because look, in the clip, he said that he may end up dead because of what he planned to expose. But he did say he was afraid because he got children. Coolio leaves behind 10 kids and 5 grandkids. I don't know, y'all. So go and check out that last interview, the last interviews he was doing, and tell me what y'all think. He might have upset some people. And look, because he said if he dies, then everything he was speaking in them interviews just proves he was telling the truth. Wow. He said that out of his own mouth, y'all. 59 years old. Rest in peace, Coolio.